So today I'm going to take you through some of my thoughts on bag trends, bags that were, in style, I think either for a season or there was something that in particular really grabbed the customer base, and then also some of the bags that I think will be forever classics, will be forever in people's wardrobes. I cannot see going anywhere anytime soon. Hello, and the warmest of welcomes to today's video. For those of you who haven't seen my face before, hi, I'm Nick, glad to have you here. For those who have seen my face before, thank you so much for joining me again. I hope you're enjoying my videos. I try to put out videos probably 3 times a week on a range of different topics, anywhere from fashion to some slightly more personal topics. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in, please do hit subscribe, turn on the notification bell and like any videos that you watch and enjoy. You can also find me on Instagram, so please do give me a follow there. And always happy to have a chat, met some of the loveliest people on YouTube, so always love having a bit of a chit chat with you guys. As I mentioned in the intro, I'm going to be talking about bag styles today, and we've all heard the famous phrase of, people come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. Now, I think the same can be true of items in terms of their longevity. They can be in for a season, they can be popular for a reason, or they will just be forever classics. Here are some of my thoughts on what those could be, or what I believe those to be. Now, slight disclaimer, this is not me saying that any of them are bad bags. If I've said it's only in for a season, that's just my opinion. If you want to rock something for 20 seasons to come, go for it. I have things that are very, very old and probably very out of fashion. My Trippy Tiger Mulberry Bayswater, as an example, is not classic in terms of the print and things. It was, So I'm not one to judge that, but this is just my opinion. Anyway, let's kick things off. We're going to start with, as the saying goes, we're going to start off with reason, we will move into season, we will then finish with the bags that I think will be here for a lifetime. So, the first bag that I think was here for a reason, and this is one that isn't mentioned all that regularly, but this is the Stella McCartney Falabella. The reason that I think this was in and why you still see it occasionally, I used to see this a lot circa 2013, 2014 on Real Housewives. Brandi Glanville was a big fan of this. I think Joanna Krupa had this as well. The reason that I say this is because I think there used to be a gravitation towards larger bags, hobo bags, and what Stella McCartney really cornered the market of was sustainability and using animal-friendly products, not using animal products within her designs. I think it was a very sophisticated look. I liked the fact that quite often the Falabella came in some quite nice prints, some nice sheens to it. There was a nice kind of purpley oil slick one, I remember, and it had the lovely intricate chain detailing. Get your words out, Nick. So I think this really served a purpose in terms of larger bags, slightly slouchy, slightly more casual. Now they did try to have a slightly more formal edge when they released the Falabella Clutch. I don't personally feel that one worked as well because I don't think that it was as fit for purpose in terms of being a throw over your shoulder, run around bag. And I think this was a direct competitor of maybe something like the Neverfull, but it was more slouchy, and as mentioned, it contained no leather. So it had no animal products on it. So it was a vegan bag, and I think that really cornered part of the market. So I think props to Stella McCartney for that. You don't see it as regularly now, but you do see them occasionally, very rarely. Now, next up in terms of a reason, and this is still, I think, a relatively popular line. They do revive it year on year with new styles and new colourways. This is the Gucci Marmont range. And why I think this is in the reason category opposed to kind of the forever category is because I think this was designed to revive Gucci somewhat. I think it was to modernise the range, and I also think it was to give a slightly more youthful element to the range, and I think you can see that in the way that the Marmont range seems to be gravitated to more by a younger consumer than the Gucci Ophelia print, that kind of, or Gucci Supreme, whatever it's called, the main monogramming print. I think that's a very classic print, but because it's classic, it appears slightly more heritage than the Marmont range, which was with the belts and the bags. I think it gave a slightly more youthful twist. They brought it out in some lovely colours. The one that I remember seeing on everyone, which was nice, but considering it, the colour, you know, I didn't think it was the best colour they did. It was the rose pink colour. You either saw the bag in black or you saw it in this rose pink. And maybe those were the only colours that it originally launched in. But since, they've done some amazing colours. The pastel collection was fabulous. But you don't see many of those. You just tend to see the rose pink and the black. So when you hear people saying it was overdone, I get it, because it was overdone in those colourways. I think there were much better colours that it could have been purchased in as the years progressed. But I also believe it's probably one of those bags that you only buy one of. And normally if you've got the bag, I can imagine you probably have the matching belt. So that was, I think, a range that was designed to revive Gucci somewhat, and I think it did a really good job. I've looked at the Marmont previously. It wouldn't work for me, but actually one that I am keeping an eye out for, they used to do, was the huge, like the XL flap in the Marmont range. I've seen them at Bicester every now and then, and I do really like them, so that might be one for me. That was the reason behind the Marmont range. I think it will be with us for a period of time. It is waning in popularity, but you still see them being worn, so I think that it will probably stick with us for a little while longer. Okay, another one that I can see being with us for a period of time, and this is the Louis Vuitton multi-pochette accessoire. This isn't a bag that I would personally purchase, but I can understand why people really like it. I think, you know, the mixture of 3 different SLGs, essentially, into a bag across a canvas strap. It was versatile. You can use them as separate pieces should you wish. You can mix and match them. I liked the fact that it came in the khaki. It also came in the pink. I think this really captured people, and the reason for that was that it was versatile, but it also gave a slightly different look to any of the other Louis Vuitton bags at the time. It gave this slightly more military look, this more utilitarian vibe, and I think that was something that hadn't really been done for a little while by any of the big fashion houses. And you can see they really set the trend, because Prada then came out with a version, Louis Vuitton have gone on to take it through their Wave collection as well. But I do believe that the multi-pochette accessoire will be with us for a while, but I think it was there for a reason. I think it was to, again, add a slightly more youthful edge to Louis Vuitton. I think it was a way of reintegrating pieces that they already had within their collection, essentially their SLG collection, but repurpose them into one unit. And the addition of the strap, which again could be moved from bag to bag, I think was a really good move on their part. It spoke, I don't know if it speaks to value for money, because it's about £1,600, and I'm not too sure how much those individual products would be. But actually, it probably isn't too far. Actually, I think it probably is relatively okay value for money. I can imagine they probably sit about £2,000 if you were to buy them all individually. I think it's a really dynamic bag, and I like it a lot. But I think that's the reason for it. And then the final one in my reason category, and again, this was an it bag. I love this bag still. I would absolutely buy one of these. And this is the Celine luggage. And this was so popular, seen on influencers and celebrities everywhere when it launched. They still bring it out in some fabulous colours, more in the small size, tends to have the, like for me, the nicer colours, but in the larger sizes, they do some really nice monochromes. I do really like it in black. I think it's very classic. I do also love it in white. I think it's beautiful in white. Why do I think this was around for a particular reason? I think this was at a time similar to the Falabella, where consumers were looking for practicality. I think structured bags were very much in at the time. And also, I don't think that strong branding was as important. So this was somewhat subtle, and I think unless you knew fashion, you wouldn't have necessarily attributed the luggage to being designer. You'd have known it was a lovely bag, but it didn't have Celine splashed all across it. It had a lovely little logo on it, but it was more the silhouette that you recognised as Celine. So I think it was very much for the consumer who wanted practicality but wanted understated, but they wanted beautiful quality, good customer service. That's everything that I think Celine stands for. I think it's an absolutely beautiful piece. Like I said, still really love this bag, and it still sits for me at a really reasonable price point. Starts at about $17.50, goes up to around $2,200. I don't think that's bad for a bag of that size, and for the quality of it, I think it's really beautiful. I really, really like it, but I think it was more here for a reason, because you have seen the popularity of it taper as time's gone on, but you do still see them occasionally worn, just not very often. It very much features in most YouTubers' bags that are done, you know, it bags that are no longer it. But I still think it's beautiful, so I'm a big fan. Okay, now let's go for season. So these are bags that I don't feel will last. Doesn't mean they're not beautiful, doesn't mean they're not great bags, but I just can't see them being forever bags within a designer's collection. And I also don't think that they have such a firm place in terms of their fitting a category of bag, that I think they will stick around for all that long. Now let's kick things off with Fendi, and this is the Fendi First bag, and I see this as a direct response from Fendi to the Bottega Veneta pouch and the pouch with chain, and I think they're very much going for that larger clutch vibe with the strap attached to it. I think this is great. I love the way that they've integrated the F for Fendi into this. I think it will be practical as clutches go, but I just think it's their response to that. They are filling a gap in the market that I personally don't think really existed. I think that the Bottega bag has probably captured all of the customers that would have maybe wanted that type of bag. I could be wrong. I think this is beautiful, but I just don't think that that kind of hybrid clutch with chain combo was something that we necessarily needed a lot of. Many options are. So for the price point, £2,500, that's a lot of money for something that, yeah, I can't see lasting all that long. I could very much eat my words. It's on pre-order at the moment. I can imagine it will be popular. I can see it being popular, but I can't see it being a firm staple of Fendi's future collections, and I can't really see the reason that sits behind it other than the fact that Bottega had success with this type of bag, therefore another fashion house is looking to get on board. Okay, and then next up we have a brand that I think it's quite hard to think about classics when it comes to them, or anything that's got necessarily a huge amount of longevity, because they change their range a lot, and this is Prada. Even with things like their top handles, they're very, very subtle, the changes that they make, but they change the names a lot, they change the sizes, there's a lot that changes about the bag, which means that nothing ever remains very classic. You know, you had the tote bags that were the Saffiano tote, the Luxe tote, the double bag, then I think it's just called the Saffiano tote. You know, you've got all of these variations that across a 5-year period, you've got suddenly 5 different bags that all did the same thing, when they could have just had one that they made classic. I don't really understand it. I don't work for Prada. But the bag that I'm referring to with Prada is, I think you would pronounce it the Signo bag. And this is somewhat of a hobo style, and I think those are steadily becoming a little bit more popular. Again, I can't see this lasting for a huge amount of time, partly because of the brand. Like I said, Prada doesn't really keep anything going on. They've kept the nylon collection going, but they don't keep anything for that long. But I really love the colour of this bag. I think it will be practical. I do think that hobos are steadily becoming a little bit more popular. I think people are liking the versatility of having the tiny bags and the larger bags, having two. You see people often wearing one bag with another bag as well. So I think that's great, but I just can't see this lasting all that long. I think they will amend it. I think that it will fade into obscurity, and it'll be one of those bags that I can unfortunately see being on people's should I have bought it type lists. Now, if anyone owns this, let me know what you think of it. I just can't see it being something that's got huge longevity. The one that kind of sits within my kind of get it, but not a lover of, and can't really see it lasting, standing the test of time. This is the Dior Bobby bag, and for me it's neither here nor there. It kind of feels a little bit like they wanted something that was maybe going to hit the mark in a similar way to the Pochette Matisse, but they didn't want to do the same shape, but they still wanted it to fit within the kind of Montaigne range. And yeah, I don't get this bag, I'll be honest. I've looked at it multiple times online, trying to understand it. I'm a big Dior fan. I don't own any Dior, but I am a big fan of their bags. I really like the Caro bag. I think that's a really lovely flat bag. I really like the 30 Montaigne. But again, Dior has somewhat of a mishmash in their collection, where they have a number of bags that do stand the test of time, and we will come on to one in a little bit. But then they have another set where they do turn them over quite often, and it's hit and miss with Dior as to whether or not they're going to last. So one of the bags that I thought about putting in here was the Dior bag where you put your hand through the front of it. I can't remember what it's called. But that was a really nice bag, but it was already out. So I thought saying that it was going to be in for a season, that feels like cheating because it's already in. Because it's already gone. But I really feel that they're very hit and miss. The Bobby, I think, is possibly another one that won't stand that well. I don't think it will fare that well either in terms of the shape and the way that it looks. I think after a little bit of wear, I don't think it's going to hold up brilliantly. I think they will struggle on the resale market. And I don't think the shape's all that practical either, if I'm honest. I think that there are more practical shapes. Yeah, it's not one that I gravitate to. Now, I'm by no means a trendsetter. Absolutely not. But I can't understand it. And I don't see it very frequently. I've never actually seen one in the flesh. So, in terms of on a person, I don't shop in the stores. So, I could tell you I've seen them in the flesh. I've been to the stores, but haven't. But I don't see them out and about. When I'm in London, I don't see people wearing them. So that's always quite interesting to me when you actually don't see them on people. You know, it's one of those bags that I just don't see. So I'm quite interested to see how long it lasts. I can't see it being for a huge amount of time. Okay, and now let's get into the ones I think are really going to be here to last. Some of which actually, I think, in my mind, probably started out as something I thought, no way, that's not going to be here. That is not going to be here in 2-3 years' time. And very much kicking that off, Jacquemus? The Le Chiquito, previously I think that was the Le Chiquita. I'm talking probably about the smaller size, not the teeny tiny one that they've got, but the smaller size, because that has really taken off. Really taken off. And I think it's a fabulous little bag. I would personally never buy one because it wouldn't suit me. However, I think it's fantastic. I love the flex. I love the way that people style these. I love the fact that knowing they're so impractical, you often see people with a much larger bag plus their Jacquemus. And you think, that's just an ornament for you. That is just an ornament to carry. And I absolutely love that. I think it's great. Or, you know that all you're going to fit in it is your card and your keys. That's it. And if you're out with someone, they're carrying the rest of your stuff. And again, I think that's great. Or you've got a coat that's got a million pockets in it and you've hidden it all away in there. But I think this is absolutely fabulous. They come out in a beautiful range of colours. I love the versatility with the way that they have incorporated some with the larger canvas straps. I think that's the Jacquemus Homme range. They do them in great like camo looking colourways. I think they're fantastic. Like I said, it wouldn't work for me, but I absolutely love them. I also follow Jacquemus on Instagram, and I just think they're fantastic. The designs are great. Yeah, love it. Also, love the fact that he as a designer is so proud of who he is. He shows a lot of photos of he and his partner. You know, I think it's great. Absolutely love it. So yeah, I think it's a great bag. It's clearly captured the hearts of consumers around the world, and I think it's very much here to stay. I think it will be a part of fashion history Even if in 20 years they're still not selling that same bag, I think there will always be a time where we look back and think favourably on, do you remember when that was the trend? Do you remember when that was the thing to have? But it's been around for quite a long time now, so I really do think that this could last. Now, let's go to Chanel. Chanel, Chanel, Chanel. And I am not going to speak about the bag that has classic in the name, because I actually don't think that is the bag that would stand the test of time out of everything within Chanel. I think the bag that I personally see being the greatest testament to them as a brand, and the bag that I could see lasting the longest, is the reissue. I think it's absolutely beautiful. It is so subtle. It is so beautifully crafted. It has all of the features of the classic flap in terms of its silhouette, but I think it's a much more subtle bag. I think it's absolutely beautiful. The chain in particular is what really gets me with the reissue. I just think that is so intricate and so beautiful. They do it in some really, really stunning colourways. I actually quite like this bag. You know, gold hardware is not my favourite. I actually really quite like this in gold, in black and gold. The classic flap, not so much, but the reissue, love it in black and gold. I think it's fabulous. I've also seen black on black versions. I have seen fabric versions. I just think it's stunning, really, really stunning. They did iridescence in the reissue as well. I just think it is very, very classic, very timeless. It is subtle. Again, it's one of those bags that if you didn't know that it was a Chanel reissue, you would think it was a beautiful bag, but you wouldn't necessarily gravitate to, or you wouldn't necessarily think, ooh, love your Chanel. I think it's the bag for the more subtle luxury purchaser, which I'm personally not massively subtle. But in terms of the branding, I think it's beautiful, and that's why I think it will be the most classic bag within the range. Of all of the Chanel classics, I think it is the most classic of the lot. Forever stand the test of time, and I think it's ageless. I also think you can wear this bag at any age, because it's a little bit more understated. Whereas I find that dependent on how you style it or the colour you've got it in, the classic flap can age someone. So if you have it in the slightly smaller sizes, not so much. I just think that the reissue is a more versatile piece, and I love it. I really do love it. I think it's beautiful, really beautiful. Now, next up, we have a range. A bag range, similar to when I mentioned the Marmont, but again, I think this is a range that will very much stand the test of time. And this is the Longchamp Les Pliages range. Now, those of you who are probably sitting there thinking, this isn't luxury. Yeah, okay, whatever. I don't care. I think the range is stunning. It's versatile. The integration of nylon into a bag range is great. You know, obviously Prada do it as well. It's a great material. It's a very versatile material. It's an easy to manage material. And they have such a fabulous range of sizes. You can also get the leather versions of these bags. So I think they're absolutely excellent. The Longchamp Les Pliages is very practical, dependent on the size you get it in. But it's also been loved by celebrities. You know, Jennifer Lopez has been seen carrying this bag. So hers was a smaller size. I think it was in what looked like an exotic print. Whether it was an exotic, I'm not sure. But an exotic print. You know, if J-Lo's got it or J-Lo's worn it, I think that's pretty well approved, to be honest. These have been around since the early 90s. They bring them out in lots of fabulous colours, new materials. They've just recently launched the recycled range. So they're forever trying to move the bag forward. And I think that is great. I think that anything that's got versatility to it is always going to be a winner. And I can see this being the most classic style within the Longchamp range. I think it's the style that Longchamp are most famous for out of their whole range, I would say. Okay, next up, we mentioned Dior earlier, and I said that we were going to swing back around to a Dior bag that I think will be in the collection forever. And I'm not going to talk about the saddle, but I do think that's got longevity to it. I'm talking about the Lady Dior. And there's probably no surprises there. This often features in kind of the classics when people talk about classics. It's an interesting one, actually, because it doesn't fare very well on the resale market. So if you're ever looking for a great deal, a Lady Dior can be a really good option. But I think this is a fabulous, fabulous bag. I think this has longevity to it because firstly, it was worn by the icon who is Princess Diana. It has been revitalised so many times in new colours, in new patterns. It always features with their most intricate designs. They've done them in glitter, they've done them embroidered, they've brought them out with charms on them. I think they just have some really beautiful, beautiful pieces, but then you have the very classic style. So a medium in black, you can never go wrong with in terms of the classic nature of it. I personally really like the large black Lady Dior. I'd also really love a large Lady Dior in white, if I could ever get my hands on one. I saw one a little while ago that was in good condition. It was £800. I didn't buy it. I'm really cheesed off at that because I don't think I'd ever be able to get one for that sort of deal again. Anyway, had some staining on the inside, like pen marks and things. But who cares, that's inside. So it wouldn't have bothered me. So I'm really annoyed that I didn't buy it. But I think it's absolutely beautiful. I think this is a stunning bag that in the smaller sizes is so, so dressy. It's a great bag that I think you can move from casual to dressy very easily without having to change the bag. The outfit itself can just work around that bag. And because of the structure of it, even in larger sizes, I think it can still be incredibly formal, but particularly the mini is very, very formal. It's beautiful. Very, very formal, very intricate. The straps on them are very intricate. The quilting, beautiful. I also love, for a slightly more casual look, the fabric versions that they've brought out. So I think there's an absolutely stunning one that I love that's in green. It's in the green fabric. I think it's got the jungle print on it. Stunning. That could be fabulous with a white pair of, a white t-shirt, a pair of jeans, that bag, great. It could also be really stunning with, for example, let's say a white jumpsuit, a blazer, and a pair of heels. You know, that could work really, really well. And I think it's a bag that transitions very well. And that's why I think it's incredibly classic. Something that can stand the test of time, but transitions well, and can always be a feature of, particularly if you're someone who focuses on a capsule wardrobe, that's something that could feature very prominently. Okay, and finally, this is a brand that I really love. I only have one of their bags, but I am eyeing up many, many more. This is Mulberry, and I am talking about the Heritage Bayswater. Mulberry is a very classic British brand. I absolutely love the Bayswater. I think it is practical. I think it has a very, very identifiable but very chic silhouette. They do these in a range of different sizes. I just think they're absolutely stunning. I love my Mulberry. Like I said, I'm definitely looking to buy another one, but I'm looking to buy one in leather. Now, I don't think that the seasonals are, so for example, my Trippy Tiger Bayswater, that's not classic. That isn't a classic. The silhouette is, but that itself isn't a classic. I'm talking, you know, let's say that you bought one in black. Let's say you bought one in beige. You bought one in the oxblood or the tan colours. Those are incredibly, incredibly classic. I think you will always do well with that. They sit at a really reasonable price point, around £1,100, really good quality. Customer service is very good in Mulberry as well. They're always incredibly friendly. I just think they're really stunning bags. They also speak to the consumer who doesn't necessarily want the logos in quite the same way. They want classic silhouettes, similar to the Celine, but they would like a classic silhouette that is subtly branded, and these are very subtly branded. I think unless you knew bags well, you wouldn't necessarily recognise the Mulberry Bayswater, but I do think it's a really fabulous piece. They're not something that you see within many collections. Occasionally you see them. You don't see a huge number of them. That could mean that they're not in style. So I appreciate anyone who thinks that they're out. I get that. I personally think that they're actually just a very subtle classic, and they're a little bit of a hidden classic, in all honesty. Really beautiful bags, great craftsmanship. They do bring them out with some really fun variations as well, if you are into classic silhouettes, but in the seasonal prints. So I think this is a really fabulous piece, well worth considering, and a great price point. Also, I think a really good starter luxury bag, if you were ever looking for one, that you just wanted something that was going to almost fit a range of different purposes, but sat at a reasonable price point, put the Neverfull down, go for the Mulberry Bayswater. Big, big fan. Anyway, that is my list, guys. Let me know what your thoughts are. As I said, I don't think any of these are bad bags. Some of these wouldn't suit me. I wouldn't go for them. I don't necessarily love them. But I am not here to criticise the bag. I'm not here to criticise the brand. These are just my thoughts. Let me know what your thoughts are. Any that you think I missed, any that you think actually should sit with a different category. I'm really open to hearing what you have to say. Anyway, guys, thank you so much as always for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Take care.